Asha lived in a small town where the streets were narrow and filled with dust. Old bicycles leaned against broken walls, children played with paper balls, and tired rickshaws moved slowly through the lanes. Her own house was very small. The roof was made of tin and leaked whenever the rain fell. Inside, the walls were cracked, and the floor was hard and bare. Her father drove a rickshaw all day under the hot sun. He returned home with aching shoulders and only a few coins in his pocket. Her mother spent long hours stitching torn clothes for neighbors. Sometimes her eyes grew red and painful from the dim light, but she kept working because the family needed every rupee. Even with both of them working, food was often not enough. There were nights when Asha lay awake, her stomach empty but her mind full of thoughts. She was 16 years old, thin and tired, but her eyes carried a quiet fire. Her shoes were worn out with holes, her school bag had patches, and her notebooks were tied together with thread because the pages kept falling apart. Still, she held on to them carefully, as if they were treasures. Asha had a dream. She wanted to be a doctor. She imagined herself wearing a white coat, helping the sick, and giving her parents a life where hunger and worry could no longer enter the door. But whenever she spoke about her dream, people laughed. "Doctor," they said, "you don't even have money for books. Stop thinking like this. A girl like you should think of marriage, not medicine." The words cut her like sharp stones, but she refused to let them break her. Every evening, after sweeping the floor and helping her mother, she sat near a weak lantern. The flame shook whenever the wind entered through the cracks in the wall, but Asher's eyes never moved away from her book. The pages were old, borrowed from others, and smelled of dust, yet she read them again and again, as if each word was a step toward her dream. One afternoon at school, her science teacher noticed her notebook. The cover was torn, and the pages were nearly falling out. He looked at her kindly and asked Asha, "Why don't you get a new notebook?" She lowered her head and whispered softly, "Sir, one day I will. For now, these pages are enough." The teacher stayed silent for a moment. Then he pulled out his own fountain pen and placed it in her hand. It was heavy, smooth, and far nicer than anything she had ever held before. "Listen to me, Asha," he said in a steady voice. "The world will always test the poor more than the rich. But if you refuse to give up, if you keep going no matter how hard it is, one day life itself will bow before you." Asha held the pen tightly, her fingers trembling. That evening, when she sat down again with her broken notebook, she used the new pen. The pages were still torn, the light was still weak, but her heart was stronger than ever. She made a promise to herself. She would not stop, she would not give in, until her dream of becoming a doctor was real. After her teacher's words, something changed inside Asha. The pen he gave her was not just a tool for writing. To her, it was a reminder that someone believed in her, that her dream was not foolish. Every time she touched it, her heart grew stronger. But life did not become easier. Her mother's health was weak. She often coughed through the night and needed medicine the family could hardly afford. Her father worked from morning until the stars came out, yet he returned with only enough money for rice and a few vegetables. The sight of her parents struggling filled Asha with pain, but it also made her determination burn brighter. She knew she had to do more. Every morning, she walked to school with tired feet but a sharp mind. In the afternoons, when other children went home to rest, Asha worked. She washed glasses and served tea at a small roadside stall. The steam from the hot cups often burned her hands, but she smiled and carried on, thinking of the books she could buy with the few coins she earned. On weekends, she helped a local mechanic. She watched him carefully, learning how to fix small things. The smell of oil clung to her clothes, and her hands grew rough from the work, but she did not complain. Every coin mattered. And at night, when the whole village was quiet, Asha lit her small lantern and opened her books. The air was cool, sometimes filled with the sound of crickets or the barking of dogs in the distance. Her eyelids grew heavy, her stomach often empty, but she forced herself to continue. Each page she read, each problem she solved, felt like a brick in the bridge she was building toward her future. Some nights, tears rolled down her cheeks as she studied. She cried from hunger, from exhaustion, from the weight of her dream, but she never stopped. She whispered to herself, "I will not give up. One day, I will wear the white coat. One day, my parents will smile without worry." The days turned into weeks, the weeks into months. Slowly, Asher's hard work began to show. Her teachers noticed her dedication. They gave her extra books, guided her, and encouraged her. Even some neighbors, who once laughed at her, started to watch in silence, wondering if the poor rickshaw driver's daughter might truly achieve what no one believed she could. Inside Asha, the fire grew stronger. She was no longer just a girl with torn pages. She was a fighter, a dreamer, and each day she moved one step closer to proving that dreams are stronger than poverty. The day of the big exam finally arrived. Asha woke before sunrise. Her stomach was empty, but her heart was full. She carried her old bag, her books, and the pen her teacher had given her. In the exam hall, she sat among students with new uniforms and shiny stationery. For a moment, she felt small, but then she remembered her late nights, her hard work, her parents' tired faces, and the promise she had made to herself. She bent over the paper and wrote with all her strength. Each answer was a step closer to her dream. Weeks later, the results came. Asher's name was at the top of the list. She had passed with the highest marks. Her parents cried tears of joy. Her neighbors, who once mocked her, now praised her, and her teacher looked at her with pride, saying, "You see, Asha, life bows to those who never give up." For the first time, Asha felt the weight of her struggles lift. She was no longer just the girl with torn pages. She was the girl who turned her dream into a future.